Hey, this is Adam Nackers, and in this video, I'm going to be continuing my review of the Fullstaq Marketer Business Launch Challenge. This is part 2, and I've just completed day 1 of the actual challenge. It's Friday. I'm taking part in the January 2021 BLC, and like I said, we just completed day 1. So, once again, this review that I'm doing, I'm actually doing in part. So I did one yesterday that was really, just kind of covering the reasons why I was so excited, why I chose to get started with this challenge and why I'm so excited about it. And now today I'm going to review, I'm going to continue the review and give you sort of an understanding of, what day 1 is all about and my experience with it without revealing details. It's actually not allowed. You can't share what the actual content. It's their intellectual property, which I completely understand, but I can share my experience, which I know for someone who's like researching this, isn't sure, maybe is thinking about joining the BLC, but isn't sure. I know just hearing people's feedback on the actual experience and how they're experiencing the journey is really valuable. So that's really what I'm going to talk about today is, just how I'm feeling now that I've completed the first day. So I'm going to briefly just cover like what loosely was the agenda. So the Zoom started on schedule. They immediately went into, there's a host and he did some introductions. I did some icebreakers, which I thought was actually kind of fun. What I really liked about the vibe and really just about the whole community in general is that it's a loose team. They clearly all really enjoy each other, and they were cracking jokes during the introductions. You got to hear a number of different stories from folks, and that really added a human element to it, which was cool. Because for so many people that have maybe been in this place for a while, trying to figure out opportunities, ways to start businesses, and maybe you've just had really bad experiences. What was cool is they set a tone right away. They're definitely not coddling you, but by introducing everybody, having a number of people share their stories, all of these people, you can see how they were at the same place you are. If you're somebody new starting this business, as soon as the introduction started and they shared their stories, it immediately just created this sort of relatability to the community, right? And to the folks that have been where you are, but have persevered and now are creating amazing results and have launched their own businesses. So that was really cool. Then they did some housekeeping, just sort of laid the ground rules, set expectations. He actually, Randy, who hosted it, then actually led a breathing exercise. Because one thing he acknowledged right away is that a lot of times when people are starting something like this, they're super anxious, they're nervous, and they recognize that. And so he actually led people on just a really brief breathing exercise. And I noticed, I participated, and it just sort of calmed me down too. And which was good, just to kind of get more onto more of an even keel. I think it was really well received and helpful to a lot of people. Then they introduced the Fullstaq team, which I've already alluded to, where they really just brought in a bunch of the leaders and advisors within the community and had them all share their stories. And I was really excited about it because I heard from a number of people whose sort of story sort of mirrors mine. And just they're my kind of people. Like a number of them are living in Mexico. My wife and I are actually going to be expatriating to Mexico. So it was pretty cool to have them share their story. And I just could immediately relate with the people, and it was cool. Then Keala was announced, and he really just dove in to his own story, which is, if you listen to Keala's story, he gets teary-eyed when he tells his stories, and you can tell it's authentic because he can share it in such great detail. And at this point, it's natural, I think, for people when they're hearing a story and it's really long and drawn out, the immediate response sometimes is, all right, when is this going to be over, right? But it's intentional. The reason Keala told this story, and I thought this was cool. He showed some images of him, and it had he's been featured in all these publications and in all these brands like Forbes and Huffington Post and CBS. I think he was on like a news, like an actual news segment. And it's easy when you see those images, to portray someone as like this instant overnight success, right? And what you don't see is like what's under that under the surface, what that person has gone through. And so Keala actually takes a substantial time to share his story. I mean, we heard there was quite a bit of storytelling done, and it's done intentionally. It's done so that you understand that success isn't created overnight. And I just felt like Keala's story is really incredible, and it makes him so relatable in spite of being this massive success. I mean, he's built companies that have generated into the, seven figures. I'm not even sure what the exact numbers are, but an insane amount of revenue that he's generated. But when you hear him tell his story, you realize that he's no different than you. And it makes you realize, like, it's really a decision that you have to make to stay committed, right? That was a word they brought up a lot, is be committed to be committed to the journey you're going on. Trust the process. And then Cal actually talked about what they're all going to provide. And I personally think it's unprecedented. Okay. It's really, there's nothing like this. And this is where I don't want to reveal too much as I continue to, on to the next 2 days, I'll be sharing my experience to a degree. But the bottom line is this definitely confirmed that, the business launch challenge is unlike anything else that's out there. And what they're providing you in this 3-day window is just incredible. It definitely confirmed my feelings that this is like nothing else. And I'm really excited. It's really amped up my excitement. Then Cal actually pulled out a whiteboard, and it was actually a digital whiteboard, but he explained the actual business model, which, again, I'm not going to go into depth on this right now, but it's really, really powerful. It gives you this awareness of, okay, maybe you were intrigued by this whole idea of starting an online business, but really didn't know anything about it. And he draws it out for you. All right. So it helps you achieve that clarity. Like, wow, this is a real thing. This is a real business. And I can do this, Then they experienced some pretty serious technical issues. Like basically everybody, the Zoom starts off and everybody's in the same room. And there were literally more than 600 people on this Zoom. And the way it's organized is you start in the main room, they go through this agenda, and then they're going to break you out. They call them breakouts into individual smaller rooms where you can get a little bit more, I guess, hand holding and walk through. Right. But Zoom broke, and they had to essentially do the breakouts as one session to all 600 people. But they navigated it really well. And they just did that breakout session is in the main room. And it actually worked out. They were very responsive to people's questions, and they just assisted with everybody, as questions arose, and they just came together as a team, sort of rallied together and got it done. I was impressed. And then Randy came on again. That was the original host, and just kind of closed everything, just gave a closing, tied up all the loose ends, and just got everybody ready for tomorrow, and actually encouraged participation. This is one thing that I think is cool about the format, is it's interactive. And so he encouraged everyone to go into the Facebook group and just share their biggest takeaway, which was cool. So I just want to really go through some of the stuff that stood out. And there were so many quotables that I wrote down as I was going through this, that I think will also offer really great lessons. So if you're someone who's thinking about it, this is kind of going to give you an idea of sort of what the most valuable lessons are that you're going to learn, and that are reinforced by going through something like this. Success is the marriage of skill set and mindset. All right. So this is sort of a credo of Fullstaq, is that when you're somebody who's looking for opportunity, it's common to chase the shiny objects and all that. And what they really emphasize at Fullstaq is skill set and mindset. Develop the skills, learn the tools, but then also understand that your mindset, you're where you are in life right now, is sort of a function of your beliefs, your existing mindset. And so it's going to take as much work on mindset as skill set if you want to succeed. The needs of many, the needs of many outweigh the needs of the few. So he was really talking about how, it's, if you're one of those constant complainers, they're not going to give you extra attention if you're just one of those types that can't figure some stuff out on your own too, right? The reality is that if you're going to be that type of person, it's probably not for you. And they're going to focus their energy on the people that are committed and aren't the whining types, right? That are just determined to get things figured out, right? We're doing a lot in a compressed time frame, so it requires a certain attitude. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So one thing, they brought up right away is it's called the Business Launch Challenge for a reason. This is not something that's designed to be super easy. It's going to challenge you. And that's really what, that's what you need in life. If you want to achieve big things, you want your life to change, you've got to embrace the challenge. Success is a journey, not a destination. It's so common for, all of us to be thinking about, well, where do we want to be? You want to hit that income number, right? Or you want to reach that goal of yours. But when you focus a ton on the destination, it can take away from the whole experience, right? I mean, the reality is there really is no destination. You're constantly going to want to set that bar higher. And so it's important that you embrace the journey and just understand it's a journey, right? Success is in the journey. Participation plus risk equals maximum value. So what they were getting at here is that in order to derive the most value out of this, first of all, you've got to be willing to participate and show up. You also got to be able to accept some risk, and really when they talk about risk, what they're talking about is getting outside of your comfort zone. He actually brought up the story of, if you're at the dance and there's a girl, you have to take a risk. You have to go, you got to participate, but you got to take that risk, put yourself out there. One of the advisors that they introduced early on, it stood out to me when he said, other opportunities may give you fish, we teach you how to fish. So, with that meaning that, other opportunities might promise the moon and they're gonna say they'll do this and that for you. What Fullstaq is really oriented around is teaching you how to do this stuff, right? Like really, like I said, it's skill set and mindset, right? They're going to teach you how to do it, and how incredibly, how incredible is it that they can do this in a 3-day window, right? Don't major in the minors is, it's really common too to get bogged down in the wrong, bogged down worrying about little things, right? So he kept giving examples like even as this was going on and they were experiencing these technical challenges, they didn't allow it to derail them at all. They just figured out a solution. And what he's saying when he says don't major in the minors is don't give energy to these little things beyond what they deserve, right? Little things shouldn't be able to stop you. No one who's successful majors in the minors. All right. You got to see the big picture and just keep moving forward. And this one kind of ties into that. The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem, right? If you're someone who as soon as let's say just in life, you're trying to work from home and your internet goes out. Do you make that ruin your entire day and stop you dead in your tracks? Or do you solve the problem, right? Do you have the right attitude? Do you approach these problems with the right attitude because they're inevitable, right? They're inevitable. So you've got to have a certain attitude about it. And people who aren't successful allow little stuff to completely derail them. Whereas successful people recognize these little problems for what they are, little problems, right? A few more things. All great things have small beginnings. So it's a way of acknowledging where you are is exactly where you need to be. And if you want to create and do something great, everybody, no matter how successful they are, they all had small beginnings, right? So it kind of lends perspective that's helpful in that, don't be ashamed of where you are. Just acknowledge it and acknowledge that you had to start here, right? And now you can go and create, do bigger and better things. Nobody fails for a lack of resources. They fail for a lack of resourcefulness. So this one was big. And he brought this up because he knew it was probably going through a lot of people's heads. Like, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. Right. And when Cal himself told his story, he really went into the details on how miserably he failed at his first businesses, and how, at times, I mean, he had to go beg his grandma for money. He had to borrow money from his mom. He had to, when he went to his first event, I mean, he had to sleep on the floor at someone's house. Like, he really was at rock bottom multiple times, but he always found the resources to continue forward. And that's like essential to breaking through. Is, failure isn't in, having these setbacks. It's in, as long as as long as you keep getting up, you can succeed. That's really what success is just getting up one more time than you failed, right? Sometimes you have to pivot, and I wanted to mention this one because I mentioned the technical issues in midstream, right in the middle of the Zoom. I mean, they ran into these issues. If it was a lesser community, something that had, a lesser, if there was less substance to the people involved, this could have derailed them. But they really just stayed on the ball. They immediately found a workaround. They worked together, and they delivered. And by the end, actually, in spite of the technical issues, I think 640 were originally, or 650 were originally in there. And I remember looking at the end, you could still see that there were over 600 in attendance, which is a signal that they really rallied and did what they needed to do to ensure they delivered in spite of challenges, right? In spite of having to pivot. It's my birthday. I'm here. So the guy who hosted, Randy, said this at the very end, and it was a way of emphasizing to people that, hey, if you're going to show up, we will too. I mean, it was his birthday on a weekend, and here he was, delivering and hosting this event right on his birthday. So he's making sacrifices, and it's kind of a way of saying to everyone in attendance, like, no excuses. It can be your choice. If you decide, you know what, this is too much for me, other things in my life are more important than building my digital, my online business, that's your choice. But that folks who are successful show up. And that's why I'm here for you guys, and I expect the same, right? It was cool. Other takeaways, just the whole experience and everything that I observed, and I was just really impressed. And it confirmed that, the Business Launch Challenge really is unlike anything else out there. The community goes way above and beyond what other opportunities even attempt to deliver. It's an awesome community. It was awesome to hear the stories, be introduced to so many of the people on the team. It makes the whole thing more relatable and human. They set expectations well. They were very responsive, because within Zoom, there's a chat feature, and they were very responsive and on the ball with responding to questions. But they also did not coddle people. They were, I mentioned some of the quotes. They really emphasize, like, you're going to succeed on the basis of what you put into this and how committed you are to the journey, right? And but they, at the same time, they're there for you. If you show up, they do too. And as I've already mentioned, they rallied to overcome serious technical issues and deliver what was needed in spite of that adversity, which was really impressive. And one other thing they emphasize, and I might as well just say now, if this is something you want to do, you need to make sure that you're going to be available the whole weekend, because you can't just like attend Friday, maybe miss Saturday, and then attend Sunday. It's really important, because they're doing everything in sequence, and you really are getting, they're taking you through an exact process that's going to enable you to launch your business. But if you miss anything, it all builds on each other. So, it really will only work for you if you're able to attend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that completes my, part 2 of this review. As I said, I'll be continuing the review each day. I'll do a video like this, and I'll continue to share my experience as I go through the Business Launch Challenge. To follow along on my journey, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and then check the description below. I'll have links to each, the complete review, and some other resources too. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.